On this episode of Internet Business Mastery, we discuss the secrets of attracting wealth. And in the quick tip, we tell you how to get anything you want.
Welcome to InternetBusinessMastery.com, where you will learn to take control, make more money, and start an internet business today. Here are your hosts, Sterling and Jay.
Hey everyone, I'm Sterling.
And I'm Jay, and if this is your first time joining us, thanks for joining us on Internet Business Mastery, where we are here on a mission to help you find more freedom, fulfillment, happiness, and control in your life through, well, the wonders of internet business. We're just two guys doing internet business, sharing our journey with you. So thank you very much for joining us. We want to invite you to go and check out our email newsletter where we send out all our latest tips and tricks for starting an internet business. You can find that at freeaudiogift.com. So, Sterling, what you been up to lately?
Well, I know we've, for quite a while now, been on a quest to see how fast you can possibly make money with some form of internet business. Now,
so what's the answer?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
2 minutes?
Normally we obviously talk about long-term, like building this really solid business, and, that can last for years and years and just bring in a large amount of money. But on the other side, it's just always been something that people always ask. It's like, or we know that people just want to make that money as soon as humanly possible. So, we've been on a quest for quite some time to find the fastest possible thing, and I got it down to 2 hours.
Oh, not bad.
Maybe there's even a faster way, but 2 hours. So I've been working on that, and that's something that we actually have a product coming out very soon. That this was a second round of heavy testing. It's just one of those weird things when something like this happens, when you're learning something new, like you want to test as many times as possible so that it's not just a fluke once. So, 2 hours, and then I did some more tests, and 2 hours is about the fastest. I think over this weekend I had something, it was about 2.5 hours following just following this very specific formula that we have, and I've got it down to that. So it's a very interesting thing to see how fast it can be and how fast the profit is. Now, the profit wasn't like we make with a monster business like we have here, but it was definitely, I think I made like $200 or something like that. That was after spending the fees and stuff like that. So that's something coming up. That was doing some Facebook ad stuff and based on a new product we've got coming out. But I get really excited when something like that happens, because obviously if somebody can go, okay, I'm going to listen to a product and do what it says, and then a few hours later make their first dollar. I think that, once you hit that first little bit of income because of something that you figured out and thought, it makes you want this incredibly more than ever. And it's possible. Once you make that first dollar, you're like, wow, I can do that again.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited that you got it down to 2 hours. It's very, very cool. And I'm sure everyone is waiting with bated breath to hear how you did it. But stay tuned. We'll definitely have more information on that in the near future.
And now, the features segment.
So a few episodes ago, we talked about the rich dad, poor dad cash flow quadrants. And it was kind of the whole idea of how do you build true wealth being that definition Robert Kiyosaki came up with of, well, if you stopped, quote unquote, working tomorrow, how long could you survive if, just with whatever money you have or whatever money is coming in through passive income investments, businesses, and things like that, making the point that, when you're an employee and exchanging money for time, well, the moment you stop working, obviously is the moment you stop bringing money in, and depending on how much savings you have is how quickly that wealth runs out. Most of us being in a situation of wealth where, a week or a few months, or if we're lucky, a year or two, and then that's it. If we stopped working, and, our retirement would be very, very short, so to speak. We talked about some of the different areas: employment, self-employment, investment, business owner, that you can pull that wealth from. And that got us thinking along the lines a little bit. We wanted to do another episode kind of about this secrets of attracting wealth, because there are some specific principles that we found are key in this journey of achieving more freedom. And yes, wealth and money being a key part of that, finding freedom because of the world we live in. Money does equal freedom and choice and opportunity. And while we, encourage everyone to think about, well, what are those things that the money is going to bring you? We're flat out talking about in this episode, yes, acquiring wealth. What are the secrets of getting that money? So let's go ahead and talk about this. We've put out 5 different principles, 5 different things, secrets that you can apply or mindset shifts that you can achieve in order to help you attract that wealth and hence that freedom and whatever else you want from that wealth more quickly. So the first one is just to have the right money mindset. And really, we could spend a whole episode just talking about money mindset, and maybe we should at some point. But here, this is just about, what is the way that you think about money? What are the things that you say about money? And there's all kinds of things that have been programmed into us by society and the education that we have. And sadly, many of them are counter to what is actually needed to attract money to you. And, when we say, let me just take a quick sidestep here. I mean, we're using this principle of attraction, and I know there's the attraction, the whole attraction principle that comes from The Secret and stuff like that. And it's a principle that's largely misunderstood and misapplied. When we say attract wealth, we're very much not of the camp of, okay, if you just think the right things, money's going to show up in your pockets. That's not the way it is. It's, you have to take action. However, there are things you can establish. There are systems. There are ways of thinking, things that when you do put them into place, it does very much create circumstances such that you are, more likely to have that wealth come into your life from the actions and efforts that you put out. And it very much can be like, attracting it towards yourself. So anyway, I just wanted to take a quick moment, I guess, to clarify our stance on that whole, attraction principle that people talk about. So money mindset is definitely an attraction principle because without even knowing it, our mindset about money can very much sabotage our ability to bring that wealth in our life. We might be thinking, yes, I want wealth and freedom, but then underneath we've got beliefs and things about wealth. It might be, well, I don't deserve to be wealthy, or wealthy people are wealthy people are bad because, maybe you've had experiences where the moment somebody gets money, they corruptible or whatever, and they do things that aren't, you feel like what they did to get that money isn't worthwhile. And there's certainly people in mainstream media that's, what's played up, and that's where those beliefs come from. But again, those beliefs are very much counter to what it takes. The truth is that, well, money's only going to make you more of the person you already are. So it's not like money's just going to instantly corrupt you overnight. And I'm just giving that as one example of a money mindset. Or another mindset that can hamstring our ability to attract wealth is this idea that, well, if I'm attracting wealth and that's taking away from someone else, as if there's only so much money in the world to go around. And while, yes, right now in physical existence, there's a certain amount of money, if you really understand how economies work and how entrepreneurship work, it's about getting paid for value. And when you learn how to create value, well, that creates opportunity, that creates more money, not only for yourself, but for others as well. And so it's not like more for you takes away from others, which again is one of those mindsets that can really set people back when it comes to, so they say I want wealth, but then their beliefs are counter to that. So without going into that, for a long time, a couple recommendations I would make, and then I'll let you give your take on this, Sterling, is to read, a couple books that have really helped my mindset along these lines is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And then there's The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, which also gives some really great mindset shifts, just one after the other. He's got just pages and pages. It's an easy read, and he's dead on in his message about, well, here's how wealthy people think and here's how poor people think. And, it's not a judgment on poor people. This is the actualities. This is how you're going to have to think and shift your life and the way you operate around money in order for that to be attracted into your life. So those are a couple books I would recommend checking out.
Yeah, I realized I don't think I've read The Millionaire Mind. I'm going to have to check that out just to gut out any of those other lack mindsets I might have that I don't realize. But I was going to say, speaking of poor, I was raised very, very poor. So, I was used to hearing no when it came to anything extra, and no just about for anything. and thinking that way. And I actually realized I had kept that till just barely a couple of years ago. And I had to really learn about abundance and see what crazy like lack mindsets I had inherited from my family. Like, there were a couple of things like I would drive across town to get 2 cents off my gas.
Right.
2 cents per gallon. Oh my gosh. And same with coupons or sales. I would drive across town to get $1 off while spending $4 to get there. It's such a weird thing, that mentality. And I definitely, it took me a long time to start getting rid of that kind of thing. And also understanding that, as we'll talk about a little bit later, know what money means to you and this kind of thing. Because once you realize that it's actually time that's more valuable, like if I drive 45 minutes across town, even if it was it was only 10 minutes to go somewhere just to get that 2 cents off, then 10 minutes back, I'm very possibly wasting time that I could be doing something either more enjoyable or learning something or doing something completely different. And, so in the end, I kind of learned that, don't waste time on pennies. And that's what I was taught as a kid. Everything was about, pennies and just the small amounts of money and stuff like that. Ooh, we saved 82 cents. And then the other thing that I think now all the time, and we talk about this quite often, is how can I afford something? Like, how can I afford it? Instead of, I can't afford that. If I want it really bad, it's like, how can I afford this? And then it's thinking that way instead of just automatically telling myself no, as I heard the entire time I was growing up. There was never once when I was growing up somebody saying, well, figure out how you can afford it, or we'll figure out how we as a family can afford this. There was no such thing. It was just like, nope. Yeah. And, it takes a long time to get that stuff out of your head. So, that's definitely getting that money mindset and understanding those lack mentalities and getting those out are very important for sure.
Absolutely. So principle number 2 is to know why you want the money. Definitely something we've talked about before and to kind of alluded to earlier in this episode. And that is, you need to know, what does the money represent? Yes, we're talking about the secrets of attracting wealth. But in the end, just saying, I want more money is not adequate. And if that's the only motivation that you have for starting a business, being an entrepreneur is, I just want more money, it's just too vague. And again, we've seen both in our own experience as well as the experience of those around us that just saying I want more money isn't going to be an adequate motivator. It's going to still leave you too prone to, when things get difficult, to just, giving up or, to not making the right decisions to really get you to where you want to go. And so that's why taking some time to think about, what does that money represent? In terms of freedom, in terms of options, in terms of choices, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of fulfillment, happiness for you, for your family, for maybe others in the world, the kind of things you want to do with that money. Do you want to buy a certain kind of place to live? Do you want to be able to donate to a certain kind of charity? Do you want to be able to travel to certain places in the world? And very specifically, even getting pictures of these things, creating a vision board of the things that you will achieve, knowing what kind of lifestyle upgrades. I remember last year I was kind of doing a refresh on potential lifestyle upgrades, hiring somebody to clean my home, hiring somebody to be a personal assistant, adding additional money to eat out more often during the month, like as we will, or putting more money aside to take an extra trip every year. These were lifestyle upgrade ideas. So I would know over that next year as our income increased, what was it that I was going to get for myself? And, when we have a big successful launch, I usually have something in mind of, hey, if this goes how we plan and we reach that goal, I'm going to go buy myself a new camera, or I'm going to go have a new wonderful experience with my wife, maybe go to the spa or something like that and, relax. So knowing what the money represents to you and, to the people that you care about is going to be an important part of attracting that wealth, because those are the things in the end that really will motivate you and keep you going.
Yeah, this is definitely massive, because if you have kind of a higher meaning for what money is and you're just clear on what that is, it's much easier to keep yourself going through the tough times. So for instance, for me, freedom and fulfillment are the top meanings for money. And I can tell you that this certainly helps me plow through if there's like a business disappointment or some mundane task I have to take care of, or different hurdles to overcome. And it's funny because a lot of the things that you mentioned like being able to go out or have a personal assistant or these different things. To me, that's part of the freedom, right? Like you're gaining more freedom to do the things that are more fulfilling for you. So it's the same with me. I definitely look at things that bring more freedom of time, or whether it's time or location, but also fulfillment, because now I've got the possibility of contributing to organizations that I've always wanted to do. And so in my mind, when I'm going, okay, I'm going to work a little bit more today, I want to get this done today, when I'm equating that to what that equals, I'm going, oh, well, I'll be able to do this, this, and this with it. And it's funny because before we had the success that we've had with internet business, I actually thought I still was in kind of that place where, I can't wait to get like a TV, and then I'll get a TV over in this room, and then, what about a TV in the back? These weird things. And again, I think that went away really, really fast, strangely enough. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with wanting to do stuff like that as well. But it was interesting how very quickly you go, okay, I got a big TV. Now what? So it's funny how you realize how quickly a lot of things, don't bring the same fulfillment as, being able to understand, what fulfills you very specifically and gaining more and more freedom. So it was an interesting thing for me to find, what that money actually meant. And took quite a while, again, because of my background and stuff.
Well, I guess in the end, a good barometer is just simply happiness, putting more of those things in your life that make you happy, and taking more of those things out of your life that cause you unhappiness, that cause you guilt or frustration or annoyance or whatever the case may be. So yeah, you're right. It's hiring a personal assistant is about having more time, but really that time is meaningless unless I know what I want to do with that time. What are the kinds of, are there people I want to spend more time with? Are there things that I want to learn? Are there, things I want to get involved with that are meaningful to me? It's interesting because I definitely, I used to value my time in a much different way. And that's because I guess I hadn't dug through these different layers of like, well, what would I really want to do with that time? So cleaning the house or cleaning the bathroom, it's just, this is just something I do, not that cleaning a bathroom is a horrible thing. Maybe some people get enjoyment out of that. They might. I know people who say, I love doing dishes because it's like, it just lets my one part of my brain shut off and do something menial. And then it allows me to think. Well, me personally, I'm just frustrated the whole time I'm doing dishes. So, I know that about myself, and I get that out of so that I have more time to do something that I do enjoy. So getting to know yourself, I guess, is a point I'm getting to is an important part of that, and what makes you happy so you can get more of that and get rid of more of what just frustrates you and doesn't make you happy. All right. The third thing is learning to manage your money. And of course, this immediately you probably start thinking things like budgeting, and that's definitely not a bad idea. I know, especially in the early days of starting our business, we had to get creative, going back to how can we afford it thing? How can we afford the education we need, the mentors we need, the coaches we need, the different, maybe a new computer that I need to work on my business, things like that. It meant getting creative with our finances, giving certain things up, sacrificing certain things, maybe cutting back a bit on certain budgetary things, but deliberately so we can get those things that we really wanted out of it. But that meant getting better at managing our money. But it even goes further than that. It's, understanding things like taxes more and knowing, well, how can I save on taxes and not pay more taxes than I, absolutely need to? And how can I manage my accounts in a way to, keep my money safe and, with LLCs and different entities. And so starting to understand those things, the way that wealthy people manage their money, because as you get more of it, it does require, more strategies to use it in a wise way and keep it safe and have it work for you, have your money work for you in meaningful ways. Money's not going to come into chaos. And so you might think, well, when I have the $1 million, then I'll start thinking about what do I do with it? And that, that's just not the way it works, again, you need to start now, even if it's with small amounts. That's why any of these wealth creation gurus out there is going to tell you, even if you're just setting $10 aside a month into a wealth account, do it, because at least it gets that habit, that gets that consistency. It's going to start, getting your mind to open up. Well, what do I do with that money now? Once it builds up to $100 or $200 or $400, and you'll start learning about these things, even when you're just getting started in building wealth. So learning to manage your money now is an important part of the puzzle.
Yeah, I found that tracking and budgeting was very helpful for me, especially at first. And it was really informative to see where I scrimped and where I went wild with money. Like, that was kind of like the start of managing my money. And then it got to the point where suddenly I started, in my mind, really trying to consider, what would I do with $1 million? I don't even know, how do you manage that in a bank? Like, do you just put it in a bank? I know they only insure like $100,000. I think it's like $250,000 now. Do you then spread out that million over 4 banks then, so that you've got the, insurance on top of it? Like, those are things to actually think of. And I think that acting like what you would consider somebody with $1 million would act with the money, and starting to learn how you would need to act, was exactly what I did. And I think it was very important. Like, I don't know that I ever thought before that I would be friends with a CPA and a lawyer. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was never in my thing. I was like, oh, I can't wait to have a CPA and a lawyer. And, and now, like, even our CPA still to this day, I talk to him at least monthly, if not more, because of all the different things he's managing. Then I now have a management company that manages this and that, and all of it. Like, I had to go, and I went to them and said, okay, well, if I had $1 million, how would I manage it? You people, whether it be CPAs or lawyers, you're dealing with people like this. How do I protect this? How do I protect it from the extortion of the state or theft from criminals? I was like, if I can start building this stuff now, maybe that will also, you said, money won't come into chaos. Maybe if I build this perfect little pen, right, and invite the money in. Come in. It's safe in here. Look
how nice it is. Look how spacious.
Look how crazy and chaotic it is out there.
We've been waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly. I've got everything. You like green M&Ms only? They're right here. Come on in. I've got it all set up the way you like it. So I actually went through the process. I spent a couple $1,000s, designing different entities and stuff to make it so that when the money comes, I can be safe. And now it works very beautifully, the whole system. And it was just, again, part of that mindset shift and part of going out and going, I need to learn at the very first level, managing my money, tracking and budgeting, on up to what am I going to do with the excess? Because I was so used to not having excess, for sure, just barely getting by. You have to start. I think that that's part of that mindset shift. If you're thinking of that stuff, even at the beginning, in the back of your mind, you start going, okay, well, what can I do now? Maybe it's just budgeting and tracking right now, but starting to get that opening up your mind to actually let in that ability to make money and have that money and what to do with it.
So principle number 3 is manage your money. Principle number 4 is learn to create money. It's interesting. We joke around sometimes, but it really is kind of true in many ways, how it feels like what we do is alchemy. It's like we have this ability to just create money. It's seemingly out of nowhere, but really the truth is what we're doing is we're creating value, and then people are exchanging money for that value. But that's the awesome thing about learning to be an entrepreneur, is you learn all the skills necessary to create that value first, and then the money comes, flooding towards value. That's one of the most simple principles of the economy. Money is always flowing around, and if you can learn to put yourself in the path of that money, then you're going to capture some of it for yourself. And the way you do that is by creating value first. So, and you know what this makes me think of is it makes me think of that moment where I was like, you know what, I know I'm never going to have to go get a job again. And I think it was just because it finally dawned on me that the reason I had true control over my situation is I knew no matter what happened, even if I was starting from scratch tomorrow, whatever idea I was working on at that time, I knew how very quickly I could create value and get people to pay me for it.
Absolutely.
And it was easy enough to go and find an audience, ask them what they want, create value, and have them pay money for it. And once you have gone through that process a few times and just made it so it's a fluid part of what you do, just an easy part, that creating, then it almost does become like alchemy, because it's just like the secondhand nature of money creation, where the thing that we're all so used to from the status quo from society and being brought up as, well, I don't get paid until I go and put in a certain amount of time. I don't get paid until I go and toil away and sweat a certain amount. And so, sadly, that's how the non-wealthy mindset works, is I get paid for time and sweat. Whereas you have to shift that mindset to, no, I get paid for value. I get paid for results. It doesn't matter if I work an hour, a minute, or 10 hours, whatever results and value I create in that time, that's what I'm getting paid for. And incidentally, then, entrepreneurs are in a position then to help thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so if that's your thing, part of your fulfillment, well, entrepreneurial skills are one of the best ways to do that. And so, with everything that's gone on in the world, if we want to create a better world, I think we need to focus on creating value first. And that's where, financially, certain people have gotten themselves in trouble, is they've ignored that basic principle. It's not sustainable. You got to create value first. And so, as entrepreneurs learning these skills, we have a real ability, once you learn these, not only to just change your own life immensely, but then if you so choose, to change the lives of hundreds or thousands or even millions of people that follow as well.
Yeah, I think this is yet another really exciting thing about attracting wealth. I love the creation of value. Yeah, I think level one is, to creating money would be finding the need and filling it. Right? Like that's just the absolute basic way of saying it. Of course, later, you learn how to make your money go make money for you and such, which is pretty cool, right? But at first, it's all about that voluntary value exchange. And it's interesting. My sister recently was like, well, if you didn't have the internet, like let's say the internet's gone, would you still be able to, create a business and stuff? And I was like, I don't care if a zombie apocalypse happened. I could find a need and fill it right away. Like I said, if something happened, let's say, and my mind's on this because, I have a friend that he teaches urban survival stuff. So we kind of joke about this stuff on the side, and he helps teach me, what's going on in your community and stuff like that, and keep your eye on things in terms of like, I have a neighbor, strangely enough, I'm just in the city, but I have a neighbor that he has a sign that says fresh eggs, and then gives a price or whatever. And I'm thinking, I'm in this nice community and there's a guy who, he just happens to have chickens, I guess. So I was trying to tell my sister, I'm like, right off, I would go, what are the needs that people have? And how can I fill it? So, like I was explaining to her, like the 10 things I would do right away. If the internet was gone, social havoc was going on, what could I do to still survive? And this is the magic of being able to understand just that basic way to create value, is just finding that need and filling it. I'd be able to do that in a day. I would have something going on that way, because once you learn, like you said, this alchemy, this turning lead into gold, so to speak, like we definitely get very dramatic with it when we're talking about it, because it's so amazing to understand that, a voluntary value exchange that once you do, though, you can't go back. You always know it. And no matter what situation you could be in, as long as I'm not tied to a pole, right, I can go do this.
Right. You could still be an information marketer. I could see you, putting together these little, publishing this little, and maybe it'll all be handwritten or whatever, the guide with all the rules, like in the movie Zombieland.
Yep.
So you're like selling the guide. It's like, here's the guide to the zombie apocalypse.
Number 2, 1, cardio. Yeah.
Number 3, limber up.
Yeah, got to check the back seat. Don't go into bathrooms.
Avoid bathrooms.
There you go. Yeah, I would do that too. And I mean, maybe I'd be trading a goat and a can of chicken soup instead of money, but at that point it doesn't matter. It's just value exchange.
Yeah, this guide is guaranteed to triple your lifespan from 1 year to 3 years, just with these 10 tips for the low price of one goat.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. That brings us, so that's principle number 4, learn to create money. Principle number 5 is associate with the right people. You know, the principle is, I think it's the Think and Grow Rich. I can't remember where originally it gets said. Something about that whole principle of you can, tell somebody's net worth by taking like the 5 people that they associate with most and taking the average of their net worth, or, it's really true. I mean, in the end, basically what they're saying is, our level of success and wealth tends to be similar to the people that we hang out with a lot. And so if you want to attract more freedom, more fulfillment, and learn to create money, learn to manage your money, and learn to have a money mindset, you need to associate with the kind of people who have that kind of money mindset and who have either already attracted that kind of wealth or who are on their way to attracting that kind of wealth as well. You need to have those kinds of people in your life. And, the way I did that early on when I was, right after I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I went and found that real estate investing club that I joined, and it was just a place for me to go and associate with other people who were the same kind of pursuits, and they wanted to get paid for results, and they wanted to get paid for value and not for their 9-to-5 time. And so I would hang out with these people, and I'd play the cash flow game with these people, and we'd have barbecues and talk about these kinds of money matters and what were we going to do with our money? How were we pursuing it? What were things we were learning? And so it keeps you pushing, it keeps you extending, it keeps you thinking about those kinds of things, it keeps you from settling, and it also keeps you it helps fortify you against the voice of dissent, because those people who are perfectly happy to stay where they're at with the herd and not have, see you walking away off to, in their mind, seeming danger, they're going to try to tear you down and tell you why, oh no, that's not safe. No, that's not going to make you happy. And but they don't know because they're not you. And so you need to find those people who are going to encourage in what you want to do, whether it's through local masterminds, whether it's through local clubs, or, that's one of the big reasons that with our academy, we're all about connecting people together, having that forum where they can talk. And there's been dozens of local mastermind, internet business mastery masterminds that have formed around the world of people with like-mindedness who have that common vocabulary and common pursuit that comes from listening to our show. And that's thrilling for us to know that people, find and support each other in that way, because I know it was key for me early on when I was trying to get going. So, associating with the right people. And that's also from why day one, we're like, Internet Business Mastery needs to be a community. It needs to be a place that people can go and find that kind of association. So there you go. 5 secrets for attracting more wealth. Number 1, have a money mindset. Number 2, know why you want the money. Number 3, manage your money. Number 4, learn to create money. And number 5, associate with the right people. And if you start putting each of those into action in your own life, you will see that your progression towards the kind of wealth and freedom and fulfillment and happiness that you want for yourself and those around you will accelerate.
All right, we've got another breakthrough from the Academy for you. I'm just going to jump right into it. It's from Kim Snyder. She says, I'm getting ready to do a soft launch of a new product. In the last few weeks of following IBM stuff, I've launched a new product. My traffic has more than doubled. I'm getting 4 times the opt-ins to my newsletter. And Seth Jackson and I started a Seattle mastermind group. We discovered our niches are really close and are exchanging great ideas. And that's at howtorunaband.com. And then she goes on to say, so nice to find a place where we can brainstorm and hold each other accountable. And again, that's from Kim Snyder. And that's so awesome. Again, every step is a big thing. Getting 4 times the opt-ins, you're about to launch a new product. And this is just awesome to see that. And obviously a mastermind group, getting people together where, you can really help each other. Now I'm to the point where all my friends are business owners in some ways, so we can talk about all this because we all love to do that. And we mastermind even when we're accidentally mastermind even when we're trying not to. Right?
There we go. We're masterminding again.
We're supposed to be playing. And we're both like, I like talking about this. Okay, good. We're fine. But thanks for sending that in, Kim. You can find Kim at thevoiceclub.com. And remember, there's a live question and answer call each month for coaching members where you can ask us anything about starting and running your internet business. Not a coaching member yet? No problem. Just visit internetbusinessmastery.com/coaching to get the latest information about our coaching program.
It's time for the Internet Business Quick Tip.
All right, to continue our summer success series of reading. I think I changed the name of that every episode.
Yeah, who knows what it was originally.
Right. Anyway, to continue our recommendations of books, success-related books that you should be reading this summer, we've got a suggestion actually coming from a listener off of Twitter. We decided to go ahead and post out to Twitter and say, hey, who's got a really good success book they've read this summer to recommend? And here's a good one that came back. I thought it'd be cool. I haven't read this one, but it is one that I want to read. And that is Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. The subtitle is 40 Lessons for the New Entrepreneur. And now Derek Sivers actually, I would love to read this book because Derek Sivers, I shouldn't say Derek Sivers and I go way back because I actually don't know him that well personally. But Derek Sivers, even years ago when I was in a band, a musician, Melanie and I would go to these music conferences, and Derek would always be speaking there because he's also a very, very accomplished musician himself. He's the founder of CD Baby, which since he's sold many years ago. But CD Baby, he grew to be the largest independent online retailer of music, next to like Amazon at the time. It was amazing the kind of stuff that he had accomplished. Incidentally, CD Baby is located right here in Portland. I've actually been to their offices where they interviewed me for one of their podcasts for musicians that I was on a couple years back, which was pretty cool. So anyway, all that's to say, even though I haven't read this book, I totally believe that it's a really good one. The suggestion came from @JohnMorgan on Twitter. So thank you very much, John, for that recommendation. And just glancing at Amazon, basically, so he's had years as an entrepreneur. Not only has he been a very successful musician, also years as a successful entrepreneur. And so this is just kind of a summation of all these great lessons he's learned and he kind of, goes into each of these lessons a little bit. But there's things in here like make yourself unnecessary to the running of your business. You can't please everyone, so proudly exclude people. Or the one that I really like, as he says, your business plan is moot. You don't know what people really want until you start doing it. You just got to get in there and start selling something before. So, spending all this time creating this perfectly pristine business plan is not what's going to prove out your idea. So looks like really, really good stuff there from Derek Sivers. Again, the book is called Anything You Want.
I like it already. If you'd like to get dozens of resources such as this one, you can find them in the Internet Business Mastery Academy, along with video tutorials showing you exactly how we use many of them. So to get your risk-free trial membership to the Academy, go to InternetBusinessMasteryAcademy.com.
You've been listening to the iconoclasts of the 9 to 5, Sterling & Jay. Sterling & Jay invite you to discover one of their most popular video programs ever, the Online Business Freedom Formula. Visit freevideogift.com right now to get instant access to this life-changing video series, pulled directly from the acclaimed Internet Business Mastery Academy membership community. Go now to freevideogift.com. Take control. Make more money. Start an internet business today.